Hi, my name is Mario. Welcome to my brand new channel called Bottom Line Garage. By day, I'm an accountant, and in my spare time, I'd like to tinker in the garage, working on my cars, primarily fitting aftermarket parts and what we call farkles. And I am sitting next to my blown Ford Ranger PX2 engine, which in the next couple of episodes, we're going to tear down and see what went wrong. Allegedly, Piston 3 decided to exit the chat, so we are going to tear this engine down to the bare block and see if I can find the culprit. This is purely out of interest. I'm not blaming Ford or any mechanic. I've accepted my fate. Um, the Ford Ranger engines are notorious for a couple of things that goes wrong, like the EGR coolers, um, piston 3, piston 5, I've heard, the caking on carbon in the intake. So this would be purely out of interest to see if I can find what went wrong. I normally don't record my videos, so hopefully the next couple of episodes will be of interest to anybody that's interested to see how a 3.2 liter diesel single turbo engine looks inside. Hopefully I can salvage some of the cost as it's sitting here. Replacing the engine on a Ford Ranger is anything between $10,000 to $15,000. I'm in lovely Australia, so that would be Aussie dollars. A new long block, I understand, is in the region of around $20,000 to $25,000 from Ford, and that's worth the entire value of my Ford Ranger sitting outside. It currently has the second motor in it. The first motor that replaced had a unstoppable engine leak or oil leak. So I'll take you through what's currently in the Ford Ranger, and we'll see how this one goes. Hopefully, after this teardown, I can show you some of my other projects. Looking at Mitsubishi GLX-R that I've bought that's replacing the Ford Ranger. We want to continue working and going on holidays. In essence, the BT50 and the PX2 Ford Ranger engines and drivetrains are exactly the same. I can't see any BT50 or Mazda logos on this engine. It essentially just, from what I understand, it's only the aircon pumps sitting there at the bottom, and the alternator that's from the original engine. It's everything else, the long block, is replaced. Can't see much down here, but it does come with its own turbo. So this engine has 138,000 kilometers on it, but it doesn't come with any service history. I've got no idea whether it's been serviced, what life it's had, and that's essentially why we are planning on getting rid of this. And we already replaced this with a Mitsubishi GLX-R, and a bit more later on that. It's not necessarily the best, but that's what my budget could afford, and that's where the name Bottom Line Garage comes from. So on this PX2, I have installed an aftermarket oil catch can. I think it's much safer than pumping dirty air back into the engine. At least here it's clean. And I've installed a massive intercooler from HPD. I think it's 3 or 4 times the size of the original intercooler. It doesn't have any plastic side, so it's less likely to split. And the primary purpose of this was to cool down the air intake when towing the van. We've also installed an extended transmission sump. This allows it to take a lot more auto transmission fluid. It's less prone to overheating, and I don't need to shove an intercooler in front of an already fully occupied radiator and intercooler. There's just no space for it. This is fully serviceable. It's got a sun plug, and it's far better than the original OEM Ford one. For the Ford Ranger 3.2 5-cylinder or inline 5-cylinder engine, the first couple of things we'll take off is going to be the easy bits. Today we're just going to focus on the single turbo to see what that looks like, and I'll show you some of the internal bits that I can video. Then we'll start from the top, tearing the engine down as far as I can get, and hopefully not spill a bunch of oil on my cement floor. So let me grab the GoPro and I'll show you some of the parts that we're going to take off today. It's not a very big turbo, it's not a complicated turbo, but I have not worked on a diesel turbo at all, but they all work on the same principle. And then as we progress, we will start from the top and tear it down all the way to the bottom end on the crank to see if I can see what happened to piston number 3. So step 1 would be trying to see if I can get this engine mount off so I can get to the, I'm assuming, the oil drainage lines. My trusty Ozito impact wrench with non-impact sockets, my favorite setup. There's another one, number 4. And this was way too easy. Normally my 2-minute project ends up in a 3-day mission. The oil drainage pipe looks like it's just being held on by one bolt. I'm assuming that's the dipstick that's going to stay, and then we'll take off the turbo at the flange. At this stage we want to introduce you to our little mascot, Mr. Spanner. He is from a Lego set where I built a small little Ford Mustang, and he's going to have to explain to me why an engine with only 147,000 kilometers on the clock, piston 3 decided to exit the chat. This has been a well-maintained engine. I've serviced it every 7,500 kilometers since I bought it at 120,000 kilometers, and I understand that it may have been flogged by the previous owner, but it has got a perfect maintenance record, and there's no evidence that this engine was abused before I bought it. So, welcome, Mr. Spanner. For the turbo itself, it looks like it's been held on by 3 size 13 nuts. And for the other content creators working on engines, I don't know how you don't work in your video. So this is something to get used to, so please excuse me if my arm, my nose, my ass, something is in the way. That's the top one. And now we're going to take off the size 10 bolt holding on the oil drainage. This socket is still the original socket from South Africa all the way to Australia. Ampro original kit. This must be maybe 15 years old. I haven't lost this socket yet, and I'm not planning on losing this socket ever. Here we go, size 10. Of course, I don't know how much oil they've drained. Place my little oily rag there as a precaution. I'm going to have to move you for a moment there, Mr. Spanner. You can sit up there for a while, or you can fall all the way down there. Okay, for the other 2 nuts, now on the exhaust side, there's one up here, and one all the way down there, and see the turbo that came loose. I do have the other oil feed that I need to remove. It's not sure if you can see from there. I do have another oil feed bolt that I need to remove. It's below the cold side of the turbo, next to the engine. I'll just use my trusty impact gun to do it. Okay. See the turbo moved entirely. Let's see if I can remove this. Let's see if I can remove the turbo. The oil feed pipe seems to be stuck. Theoretically, it should just move out of the way.
A few moments later.
There we go. Just wiggle it out. This was the bit that was stuck inside the engine. And here we have the turbo. This will go on Facebook Marketplace as soon as I can post some photos. Hopefully somebody's interested in a stock turbo. Good stuff. So there we have it. The turbo is out. I couldn't find any reason why the turbo was the cause of the mechanical failure. We're going to have to dig a bit deeper into the engine to find why piston 3 allegedly shut itself. So in the next video, we'll be taking off the covers, diesel injectors, intake. Would love to see if we can find a way to test diesel injectors at home. But I suspect you need some equipment. I'll do a bit of research and give feedback in the next episode. If you like this kind of content and join me on the journey where an accountant finds its way through an engine to, I don't know, got nothing better to do on a Saturday, please subscribe and like the video. It will really go a long way for my first video. Thank you.